I'm doing problem 4.14, which states that when a particular mass spring system is started by stretching the spring by 4 centimeters, one complete oscillation takes 2 seconds. And part A of the question is asking how long would it take for a complete oscillation if the initial stretch was 6 centimeters instead. So the formula for the period, which is the time for one complete oscillation, is T equals 2 pi over omega, and omega equals the square root of the spring stiffness over the mass. So since the mass and the stiffness of the spring do not change, the time for the complete oscillation is not going to change, which means that the time for a complete oscillation, if the stretch had been 6 centimeters, would still be 2 seconds. Part B of the problem is asking what would be the time for a complete oscillation if the mass was multiplied by 3, was tripled. So we know that a period is 2 pi over omega, and from part A of the problem we know that this equals 2, and omega equals the square root of the spring stiffness over the mass. So now we have to find what omega would be if the mass was tripled, which would be square root of Ks over 3m, which would be the square root of 3m, which would just be square root of Ks over the square root of 3 times the square root of m. And all this equals omega. So now we plug all this right here in the formula for T. So T equals 2 pi over square root of K over square root of 3 times the square root of m. If we simplify this, it would be 2 pi times the reciprocal of this, which would be square root of 3 times square root of m over square root of k. If we simplify this even farther, we know that these three things right here equal to T, because the reciprocal right here, if we flip this and put it under 2 pi, it's going to be 2 pi over square root of Ks over square root of m times square root of 3. And this right here equals omega, so this equals 2 pi over omega times square root of 3. And we know from the part A of the problem that 2 pi over omega right here equals 2. So this just equals 2 times the square root of 3, which equals 3.46 seconds.